Hey crew. Okay, now we're gonna take a look at a math lesson today. We're gonna be on lesson 9, which is page 339. Okay, so what you get 339. Someone with the story problems on the front side. So we're gonna read through the story problems. We're gonna look for the clue words, just like we always do, and we're gonna decide how to solve them, and then we're gonna solve them together. So we'll do the front side together, and then I'm gonna show you on the back side, problem number 1, how you're gonna solve the problems on the back side. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's start with these. Let's start with number 1, and let's have Brenna. Can you read number 1 for us, please? Okay, good. So what do we have? What is our clue word? What's our clue word or words in this problem to tell us if we're going to add or subtract? Brooklyn, what do you think? Sure, gives away. So since he gives 152 of them away, we're going to subtract 152. We're going to start with 200, so write down 200, minus 152, just like that, and then let's solve. So if I have 0 minus 2, I can't do that, so we need to borrow. And again, since it's 0, I have to borrow from the 20. So 20 becomes 19, 0 becomes 10, and now I can take 10 minus 2, and that equals 8. 9 minus 5, and that equals 4. 1 minus 1, and that equals 0, so I'm not going to write anything down there. Excuse me, so my final answer then is 48. And my label is, erasers. So let's write down erasers. So that's number 1. All right, let's go to number 2. Let's do the same thing. Let's read the problem, see if we can find our clue words. And Mr. D, let's have Ava. Go ahead and read number 2 for us, please, Ava. Okay, what do you think? Do we have some clue words in there? Riker, what do you think? Sure, they serve them, and it says how many are left. So both of those things tell us this is a subtraction problem. So we're going to start with 500 apples. So 500, and we're going to subtract 239. Okay, what are we going to do first? Sure, 0 minus 9. Can't do that, so we're going to have to make that 0 a 10. And I can't borrow from the 0, so now I'm going to borrow from 50 this time. Cross out 50, and 50 becomes 49, because I take 1 away from 50, I have 49. Now I can subtract 10 minus 9, which equals 1. 9 minus 3, which equals 6. 4 minus 2, which equals 2. And my answer is 261. And again, let's write that in the box. And don't forget to label 261 apples. Good. And that's your answer on that one, 261 apples. So we're getting into some problems now where we have hundreds, but they're greater than 100. We're up to 200 or 500. But again, if there's a 0 here and we have to borrow, we're crossing out both numbers and going 1 less than 20 or 1 less than 50. Or, let's see what we have on number 3. Declan, can you read number 3 for us, please? It's, mega store of guitars. Okay, so, what do we have for clue words here to let us know what we're doing? Anna, what do you think? Okay, good. They had some at the beginning of the month. They're telling us how many we have at the end of the month. They want to know how many are sold or how many were taken away. So we're going to subtract on this one. So let's do it. 600 minus how many they have left, which is 359, will tell us how many they sold. So let's figure out how many they sold. So again, 0 minus 9, we're going to have to borrow. Make this a 10. 60 we have to borrow from because it's a 0 here. 1 less than 60 is 59. 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 5 is 4. 5 minus 3 is 2. 241. And 241 Guitars would be our label. 241 guitars. Good, that's number 3. All right, let's go on to number 4. Okay, Keegan, can you read number 4 for us, please? Jorge is that name, Jorge. Okay, so this is one where we have a total number of points, which is 400. We have the first year over here. How many scored the first year? 181. And in the second year, it says we don't know. So if we have a problem that's set up like this, where we know the total, how many in one year, how many did he get in another year, then we need to subtract. So let's do it. 400 minus 181. Okay, 0 minus 1, they're close, but we still have to borrow because 0 is less than 1. That becomes 10. Can't borrow from the 0, have to borrow from 40. That becomes 39. 10 minus 1 equals 9. 9 minus 8 equals 1. 3 minus 1 equals 2, and my answer is 219. Okay, and what is that? Yeah, points. 219 points. Okay, so that's the front side, right? Okay, now I'm going to leave this up here for some of you who are still finishing up. I'll move this way just a little bit because here's what's happening next. What we need to see is when we're over here and we take a number like 400 or 700 and we subtract something like 372, well, when I do that, I have to remember that I have to borrow, and then we have to look to the next two, because this is a 0, we said you have to borrow from the next 2, right? And we've been practicing this. And there's my answer. However, we don't just stop at 700. We might get to this number. And what is that number? 1,000. Now, when we get to 1,000, we have to do the same thing when we borrow. Okay, so when we go to the back side, we're going to see a problem that looks like this. Let me erase this so we can see it better. 1,000 minus 772. Okay, now we're going to start the same way. Let's start in the ones column. 0 minus 2 equals, can't do it. So let's borrow. 0 becomes 10. Now, I can't borrow from 0. I can't even borrow from 0, 0. So I have to borrow all the way down to this 1. And if I cover up this, what do you see there? What number is that? 100 is 100. Yeah. So now I'm going to cross out all 3 numbers. And instead of having 100, I'm going to have 99. Okay? Now let's check to make sure that this truly is 1,000. 99 tens plus 1,000, or plus 10. So let's count by tens to 99, okay? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I'm just kidding. We're not really going to, it would take us way too long, longer than I want this video to be. But if I take 99 and I say it's 99 tens, 99, and then I put the 0 on the end, it's 990. Plus 10 more ones. There it is, it's 1,000. So that's what it should look like when you borrow from 1,000. So now we can subtract. 10 minus 2 equals 8. 9 minus 7 equals 2. 9 minus 7 equals 2, and there's your answer. And that is the first one on the back side of the sheet. Let's go on to the second one. We'll just do the top 2 together, and then you can do the rest on your own, just so you have an idea of how these work. Okay? Again, we're starting with 1,000, and we are subtracting 526. So again, 0 minus 6 I can't do, so I'm going to make that 0 a 10, cross off 100, make it 99. 10 minus 6 is 4, 9 minus 2 is 7, 9 minus 5 is 4, and there's my answer, 474. Okay, so that's how you can do the backside, or whenever you get 1,000, and you have to borrow to get to that 0, which is most of the time you're going to have to do that, okay? Do not do check for understanding, okay? But do the rest of the problems on the back side of this, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 on the back side. On the second sheet, it is more of the same. You're going to do 4-story problems. This would be on page 173. You have 4-story problems to do. And then on the back side, just some simple adding, some clocks, another story problem. And then down at the bottom, let's do this stretcher thinking together. If you've done it already and you're watching this video, check it with me, okay? This is a stretcher thinking on page 174, number 7, okay? So I'll put a 7 up here so you know we're at number 7. Okay. Stretcher thinking says, how is subtracting from a 3-digit number different than from... Let's try it again. How is subtracting from a 3-digit number different from subtracting from a 2-digit number? Here's what they're saying. How is this, don't write this on your paper, but how is this different than this? What's the difference? Well, first of all, Mr. Duncan writes sloppy when he writes 3-digit numbers, I guess. How is that different? Yeah. On this one, you might have to borrow from the tens, or you might have to borrow from the hundreds. On this one, you might have to borrow from the tens. Is there any hundreds to borrow from? Nope, there's not. So that's the big difference. The big difference that I would write down is this. In a 3-digit number, you may have to borrow from the tens and hundreds okay, I'll just leave it at that because that's the big difference. You might have to borrow from the tens and the hundreds in a 3-digit number. Whereas in a 2-digit, you might not have to, okay? So that is a stretcher thinking. You can just write down the answer I have there, okay? Otherwise, finish up both of these pages. We'll get to lesson 10 next time, okay? All right, so that's lesson 9 for you today. All right, catch you later.